Hi there, it's Nicole here today with a Happy New Year's card featuring the Mama Elephant Party Animals. This is one of my favorite stamp sets from 2017, so I thought it would be fitting to kind of end the year with maybe one of my favorite stamp sets. I think it's probably one of the most popular stamp sets from Mama Elephant this past year. The cute bunnies and chicks are just adorable. Not only great for birthdays and other celebrations, but I think they really fit well with a New Year's theme. I'm going to start with my background here, and I'm inking up some Bristol Smooth cardstock with Blueprint Sketch and Shaded Lilac Distress inks. I'm using the Bristol Smooth cardstock because it really accepts the ink so nicely, and they blend beautifully. And it's much like a watercolor cardstock, with a big difference being that it's smooth, much more like regular cardstock is. And so I really prefer it for things like this. This is going to be my sky. It's kind of a non-traditional color palette. I really love these two purples together, and kind of coming off of Christmas and the holiday season, I really wanted to do something non red and green, I guess I wanted to say, or kind of going into Valentine's. I don't want to do anything in that color spectrum either. I really wanted to do something completely different, so I'm going more for blues and purples here. Really outside my comfort zone just a little bit. I don't do a lot of purple, but I think it really works well for this kind of card. Now, I went ahead and die cut off camera a couple of borders out of smooth white cardstock. This was a scrap of cardstock that I used to create these two cloud borders that are going to go along the bottom edge of the card. This is from the Landscape Trio Mama Elephant dies. Next, I've got a piece of fun foam that I am coating with some Stick-It adhesive on both sides. This is going to give me a dimensional die cut. If you guys have followed me at all, you know that I love the look of a scripty dimensional die cut greeting. And Mama Elephant has some amazing die cuts, and the Hooray die cut works beautifully for this. In fact, everything I'm using here today, nothing is new. You might have these supplies already in your stash. That's really the feel I was going for here. Then I coated, or adhered rather, the one side with silver glitter cardstock and die cut my greeting. Now I'm going to just set that aside for a minute because I really am not ready to adhere it to my card yet, because I'm going to have some elements that are going to kind of be floating up underneath that greeting. So I don't want to adhere it quite yet till I have all of the little images stamped, colored, and die cut. We're going to take the chicks and bunnies, 4 of those, or 2 bunnies, 2 chicks, from the Party Animal stamp set, and I'm really just kind of using up scraps of white cardstock here. So I'm going to fill this little piece with my images, everything but a couple of glasses and my balloons. I'll have to grab another piece of paper for that. I really tried to I'm using up my supplies. It really does feel like end of the year. I mean, I do this anyway, but I was really just kind of gathering used things, little scraps of silver glitter cardstock and other little things, just to kind of clean it up, use it up kind of mentality. So here is my balloons. I'm using a combination of the stars and the round balloons for my card here today. And I really thought it would be fun to customize and personalize the balloons with the date. And there are lots of options for this. I really like the hollow letters stamp set from Mama Elephant because I like that you could color those in. They are perfectly sized for these balloons. I never would have thought of it before. I went looking for the perfect sized alphabet stamp set, and this was already in my stash, and I was so excited because I really love it. So maybe you have a birthday coming up for somebody. You can customize the balloons with what the age they're going to be. Or maybe you want to do this as a graduation card, kind of get rid of the bottle and the glasses maybe and do more of a graduation type of celebration theme. You could customize this with the graduation year. There are so many ways to do this. And if you want to, maybe it's too late to do this design for this year, for this New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Maybe you want to keep this in mind and do this for next year. And maybe you don't send out holiday cards, you like to send out New Year's cards instead. A lot of times I've been known to do that because I just don't get my holiday cards out in time. This would be a great design to do something like that. So lots and lots of different ways to use these stamp sets. I have just really kind of grabbed a bunch of things and put them together and made them work. This is by far my very favorite way to create, is mixing and matching. Even though I am really working within one brand here, I like to kind of mix and match my brands as well, but I also think it's great to kind of quote unquote shop within your brand. Or shop within a brand, I guess I want to say, and see what all you have, because a lot of times the images work together. Because they're all created by the same manufacturer, you can oftentimes create a card that just looks so cohesive, but maybe wasn't really intended to be used a certain way, I guess, if that makes sense. So really, it's just one of my very favorite things to do. This card was a blast to make, and it came together so easy. I was really struggling for an idea, and I knew I wanted to use these little party animals kind of in the back of my head. And once I did, I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. Another new thing that I am using, if you follow me on social media at all, I posted that I got the Polychromos colored pencils. I have been a little bit disappointed with my Prismacolor pencils. I've been a huge Prismacolor fan for a very long time. And as I have used my pencils and they've needed sharpened, I've had a ton of trouble with my pencils breaking and just not being able to sharpen them at all. And so I've seen all the hype about these Polychromos, and I thought, well, I'm going to give them a shot. So kind of a gift to myself over Christmas. It came a little bit late, but it doesn't matter. I bought these. Well, one thing I can tell you right off the bat that I absolutely love, there is no waxy residue. I think I saw somewhere, or read on the packaging even maybe, these are oil-based rather than wax-based. So those black outlines that I stamped of the images, they're not getting covered up with that waxy buildup that you often get from colored pencils. I didn't even realize this when I ordered them. I didn't really do a ton of research, I guess. I just saw all of it and I thought, I'm going to give it a shot just because I haven't been using my colored pencils the way I want to, because like I mentioned, I've been kind of disappointed in them. So I used them here today. I'm going to do a much more detailed video on that soon, I hope. But I did want to mention that is what I'm using in the video. I am using GAMSOL and a stump pencil to blend out my colors to get that beautiful seamless look. But I am totally delighted with the finished product. Almost it's almost like coloring with Copic markers. I couldn't believe how fantastic these are. I love that the outline doesn't have that waxy buildup on it. So easy to color with. Colored pencils were my first love. I can tell you guys right now, you're going to be seeing a ton of these in my videos because I just am really excited about them and I'm really enjoying them so far. Once my coloring's done, I am going to pop out my greeting here. It did die cut all the way through. However, because it's got all that fun foam and stick it and stuff, it tends to stick in there a little bit. You want to gently pull it out because you don't want to tear it. It's pretty sturdy. It's not the most delicate. There are some that are much, much more delicate, but it could tear. So I always try to be really careful, pop out all those little center pieces, and then I'm going to gently lay it down where I want it to go in the sky. It's down here, but I don't want to press it down in place because I have some elements that need to go back behind it, as I was mentioning in the first part of the video. I'm going to adhere my cloud borders along the bottom edge. I did flip the one over. I don't usually like doing that because the stitching detail is not near as good. For this card though, a lot of it is covered up and I didn't like how the borders were exactly the same. And so I think it works for this card, but I did want to mention that's what I did there. I just flipped it over and I'm using the back side for the back cloud border. I am gluing my first little critter and balloon in place. This is really critical because this is where that Y in Hooray is overlapping my images. And then I'm kind of gluing everything down. I'm using Ranger Multi-Matte Medium for most of the adhering of my little critters and images and things, just because it made it really easy. You could use whatever you want, but a lot of the things are really small. I glued down the Happy New Year, and then I realized right away that that was kind of silly because the Happy New Year is going to have to overlap a couple more balloons. So I popped it up before the glue dried, and I'm going to go ahead and glue down the rest of my images. And then I can go ahead and put that Happy New Year back. Happy New Year, I did that off camera, just a little time saver. That is from the Mama Elephant Just a Note stamp set. I knew this was going to be a New Year's card, as I mentioned, and I knew I wanted to use the Hooray script die, but I wanted a additional greeting somewhere, something that would work with it. So I went through my Mama Elephant. This is another example of shopping my collection. And I looked through them all my greeting sets, looking for the perfect sentiment. And it just so happened that the Just a Note stamp set has the little phrase Happy New Year, and it also has a cute phrase that says Pop Fizz Clink. How perfect is that for these party animals? So kind of glue everything down. As you can see here, glue my little greeting phrase in place. That was stamped on black cardstock with Versamark, heat embossed with white embossing powder, and trimmed into a thin little strip. Nothing fancy there, but one of my favorite ways to add a little phrase. And then I'm going to just go through and add detail to the eyes on all my critters with a black pen. That gives it an awesome finished look. I'll take a white pen and add some little white dots to the cheeks on each of the critters, kind of where they're already pink. I'm just going to add some little white dots. It finishes them off really nicely. And then we've got a few additional images to glue in place. I've got all these little wine glasses that I want my little critters to be holding. So the one little guy with the number 8 balloon has the bottle of champagne or sparkling cider, whatever you want it to be. It does not have to be alcoholic at all. And he's holding that. The rest of the little critters have their cute little wine glasses or champagne glasses, whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to glue those in each of their little either feather wings or paws. And then I'm going to take some Nouveau Crystal Glaze and go over the balloons. I really love a shiny finish on my balloons. I have been using the Nouveau Crystal Glaze kind of in place of glossy accents. They are really kind of interchangeable. It just depends. I think that the Nouveau Crystal Glaze maybe takes a little longer to dry. I don't really know though. I set it aside and just let it dry. Went and did some other things and kind of came back later. So I'm not exactly sure if that's true or not. It just seems like maybe Glossy Accents dries just a tiny bit faster maybe. But really it dries completely clear, so it's going to look amazing when it's done. Now, just like the balloons, I want my glass bottle and glasses to have a glossy finish as well. So I think balloons look great with a glossy finish. I think anything that is glass also looks great with a glossy finish. So I'm going to put some glossy accents on, or Nouveau Crystal Glaze on those as well. Now I'm going to take that Pop Fizz Clink greeting from the Just a Note stamp set, and I kind of just stamped it on my card base as a scrap piece of paper because I'm going to cover it up, and stamped it off a couple times to see if I liked it. But I used the Shaded Lilac and Blueprint Sketch Distress inks to add those little stamped phrases there along the cloud border on the bottom. Now, I wish I would have thought of this before I added the Nouveau Crystal Glaze, but I kind of got to the part where I stamped my little greetings, and I was like, oh no, I forgot my little bubbles coming up from the glasses, which this is a little image from Party Animals. So I went ahead and just kind of carefully grabbed a small acrylic block and stamped these all over my card. Just coming up from each of the little glasses there. I'm going to take one of my colored pencils in magenta, the same color I used for the bottle and the glasses, and just color those in just a tiny bit. Use the stump pencil to blend that out, and then finish each of the bubbles with the Nuvo Crystal Glaze and let that completely dry. I'm going to adhere this to a white side fold card base, and that will completely finish this Hooray Happy New Year card featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies. I hope this card has inspired you to maybe think outside the box, shop your collection, create something new with the stamps that maybe you already own, stamps and dies that you already own. Thanks for joining me today for this Hooray Happy New Year card featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Mama Elephant that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.